When Jane Gillespie married into the Balinese royal family, she'd expected to live in Disney World and wave hands like many princesses do. And she did. But the royal life is beyond just waving hands. It comes with its issues. And for Jane's story, we're left with certain questions. What was Jane's life like after she married the prince? What has happened 45 years later, and how do their children appear now? To learn more, watch the complete video. Before we go into the mainstream of this story, click on the follow button and also subscribe to this channel right now. Now, let's get into the main deal. Jane Gillespie, an ordinary Australian girl, experienced the same event. The 23-year-old kindergarten teacher from Sydney with a degree in child psychology became a princess. But she and her future husband endured tremendous scrutiny. But before we delve into this love story, who was Jane Gillespie before she met her big break? Jane was born in Sydney, Australia, in the year 1953. Her father, Colonel Rollo Gillespie, was the private secretary to the governor of New South Wales until 1974. After obtaining a degree in child psychology, she worked as a kindergarten teacher. Jane, having enjoyed the peak of her career and her interactions with her kids in the classroom, wanted an adventure, even if it would be once in her lifetime. So in June 1977, she and her family took a 2-week vacation in Bali, Indonesia. Like many tourists, they had opted to stay in the hotel located just on the palace ground, which was owned by Prince Raka's brother-in-law. For one, Jane had no idea that fate had started playing out for her. It was a normal day. After some days of sightseeing and enjoying the colors of a different culture, Jane had a special encounter with a young, handsome man, unbeknownst to her that he was a prince of that nation. And not just any prince, but one loved well amongst his people. It did not take long for the spark to fly, and the two could not go without each other, spending almost every day she had left in Bali with him. Their connection was so intense that when she found out he was a prince, it did not exactly matter, for she wanted him for who he was and not his title. As always, after a good and fulfilling holiday, one has to go back to reality. It was a heartbreaking goodbye, but Jane had to do what she had to do, go back home to her normal life. It was even harder then because communication was hard. You see, Bali, as of then, was still at its lowest in civilization. So even if Jane was used to a telephone, Raka did not exactly have access to one. Jane returned to her kindergarten teaching job, haunted by recollections of the tranquil Balinese way of life. Despite her wealthy background and attendance at prominent schools, the appeal of city life paled in comparison to the lovely days spent in Bali. Due to the lack of telephones on Raka's side, Jane excitedly awaited each letter from Raka, keeping their relationship alive. Unable to shake the memory of their lovely days in Bali, Jane took a risky leap. She resigned from her teaching position and returned for a sabbatical, renewing her relationship with Prince Raka. Prince Raka understood the assignment. He knew if he did not hold tight to his foreign lover of his, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Seizing the opportunity, Raka proposed, and without hesitation, Jane said a big yes. However, like with any true love story, their journey was not without obstacles. Controversies, typical of royal tales, gave a dimension of intricacy to their narrative, demonstrating that love's journey is rarely without twists and turns. Prince Raka's marriage caused controversy because he was anticipated to marry within the royal family circle. Prince Raka was raised in an unusual family, with 10 mothers and numerous siblings. As the youngest son of his father's 10th marriage, traditional rules required him to marry into the Balinese royal family. However, there was tremendous opposition to their union, necessitating drastic measures such as taking Jane's passport and conducting Interpol checks. Prince Raka refused to marry someone from his family and instead chose Jane. When they saw how much he loved the stranger, they had no choice but to accept her. Fortunately, Jane's background checks turned up clean, and both of them got married in May 1978. To celebrate her transformation into adulthood, Jane and her long hair shorn 12 inches on each side, and her brows shaved before the wedding, as it's customary in Bali. The wedding ceremony had 4 costume changes and was attended by several individuals from the nearby villages. Jane's parents flew to Bali for this important event, while the happy couple celebrated their union. Following their marriage, Jane accepted her new identity as Princess Asri Kirtiasa, which symbolized her link to the palace, and converted to Hinduism, honoring the royal family's duty as custodians of Bali's Hindu traditions. Bali's alluring charm, with its past Hindu-Buddhist kingdoms, may have enticed Jane to this romantic sanctuary at first. But the reality of royal life in Ubud, a small village with few Westerners, was in stark contrast to the luxury image associated with palaces. As of 1978, this palace lacked basic utilities like power and other facilities, resulting in a rustic living environment lit solely by paraffin lamps. Despite the stunning settings, daily life proved difficult due to the lack of running water and telephones. Jane felt herself constrained, unable to leave the premises without permission, and occasionally feeling trapped. Prince Raka, being the youngest son, had the authority to marry many times. Jane, on the other hand, was adamant that if he pursued this right, she would divorce him. The story begins with a question: who triumphed in this fight of principles? After a year of marriage, they had their first son, Max. Before their second son, Bagus, was born, they relocated to Sydney. The couple aimed to expose their children to both Balinese and Australian cultures while educating them in Sydney. While in Sydney, they were blessed with a daughter named Maya. The couple gave up the royal lifestyle to raise and educate their 3 children in Australia. Prince Raka was obliged to work as a gardener and waiter to pay debts, but longed to return to Bali. After almost 12 years in Sydney, the family relocated to Bali. In 2011, Princess Asri's son, Max, married Indonesia's well-known TV personality, Happy Salma. Like his mother, Max met his wife while she was on holiday in Bali. The wedding ceremony was held in Ubud's royal palace, attended by around 2,500 guests, including high priests and diplomats. Balinese marriages combine animistic, Buddhist, and Hindu ideas, making them unique to Bali. Prince Raka is the leader of the culture and religion in Ubud, carrying out his royal duties. Princess Asri and her son Max run Biku, a restaurant that offers breakfast, lunch, and dinner, with a specialty in high tea. In the financial projection, Princess Asri and her son Max started a culinary restaurant, co-managing Biku, a well-known restaurant that serves scrumptious breakfast, lunch, and supper options, with a focus on high tea. Their collaborative endeavor exemplifies their common enthusiasm for hospitality and gastronomy, benefiting the cultural landscape of Ubud and beyond. Max married Indonesia's popular TV star Happy Salma in 2011, beginning his love tale. Max followed in his mother's footsteps and met his soulmate while she was vacationing in Bali, the enchanted island that seemed to weave its magic into the fabric of their family's history. Prince Raka, respected as the custodian of culture and religion in Ubud, performed his royal duties with grace and dignity and presided over the festivities. Traditionally, marriage within the same class or regional palace was the recognized norm in Balian culture, replicating historical links. However, the younger generation, as shown by Max and his siblings, demonstrated a rebellious spirit, valuing love over established conventions. Princess Maya, on the other hand, was constrained by expectations and had to choose her life spouse within certain parameters. Marrying outside of the royal family would not only be against tradition, but it would also result in the loss of her prestigious title and status. Under the weight of societal expectations, Princess Maya was caught between her longing for love and her duty to uphold her royal status. While the beginning may not have been ideal, the age-old adage, "It's the end that matters," holds. Princess Asri is nearly 71 years old and yet radiates beauty, a monument to the enduring essence of her love story, which began 45 years ago. All of her children have begun on their own married journeys, and Princess Asri, now a devoted grandmother, fosters intimate ties with her grandchildren, despite of distance. In a touching surprise, Princess Asri and Prince Raka transcend the passage of time and stay joyfully entangled in their enduring love. Their love story, once fraught with initial hurdles, has evolved into a narrative of commitment and perseverance. What are your thoughts on this love story? If you enjoyed the video and would like to see more, please leave a thumbs up below. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and select the bell symbol to receive weekly video updates. See you in the next video.